evening. Tony Dottino with you. I am the founder of the USA Memory Championship. And it's hard to believe we actually started our first event in 1997. And we're on our way to working through the COVID challenges and hosting our 22nd event. I had our team committee meeting actually on Sunday evening last night. And we're still alive and well. We're working on what we can do, how we can do it, what we can do using virtual. So stay tuned with us on this. We are staying alive, and we are working and seeing what we can do in the year 2020, though social distancing and things of various sorts are still a challenge in getting people together in mass rooms. And we all want to be safe, because what I keep saying is the goal is to be safe. So if we want to stay safe, we're going to have to play by the rules of the CDC and figure out how to do things and stay safe. So in any case, I'm constantly bringing new articles. The weekend's always a good time for me to read and catch up on things and find articles that I like to talk about. And in our Maximum Memory Mastery course, we're now talking about changing the name of it because it's got so much more in it than just memory techniques. So one, for example, are things that are important for your brain health and for brain fitness. And we have a whole module on that, one of which is nutrition. And what the science has revealed to us is nutritional habits are important to us, because it's what we eat, what we breathe, if you think about it, and what we think. But let's stay with eating and breathing, that get to be the chemistry that gets into our brains and create these synaptic connections and then generate our thought patterns or potentiation of things we want to encode and retain. So food gets constant now research. I always remember playing golf with a couple of chemists, and they were sharing with me on the golf course as we were talking about what they do. They're chemists that come to work to figure out in a lab what foods are best to impact the synapses of the human brain. So it's interesting that we've got people that come to work to study what foods should we eat, recognizing that the foods we eat and the nutritional habits we have actually do have an impact to our brain. And this gets into the debates about sugar and whether we should have sugar or not sugar, and processed sugars and processed foods, and not only in what their impact is on our body and our heart, but their impact as it relates to our thinking and whether or not we'll have Alzheimer's, dementia, or some brain malfunctions. So I'm reading this weekend, and in our Maximum Memory Mastery Online, we have a whole section in there on what are the things that we need to be thinking about on a regular basis that impact our mental fitness and our cognitive functions. And food is a big one. I always remember years ago doing a study on seniors. It was done by American Geriatrics. And they were discovering that seniors that had taken significant amounts of fat out of their diets, because we thought fats were not good for us, were actually showing signs of early dementia. Unfortunately, whoever was doing the study, and I don't recall, it was a number of years I read the study, but it was powerful to me, because I, at that time, was taking fats out of my diet. We all thought fats were bad. However, there are good fats and there are bad fats. So the question becomes, what are the good fats that we want to maintain in our diet that then help the insulation of the myelin sheaths that we have in our brains that facilitate the electrical firings of our axons to our dendritic spines. And so think about wiring in your house. If you took the wiring in your house and you started to take away the coating and the sheath that covers the wiring in your house, what would happen to your house? And if you come up with the answer, is you're going to start having short circuits and you're going to have electrical malfunctions. You've got the right answer. Well, your brain is electricity and chemistry. So to that same point, the chemistry that you come by what you eat has an impact on what's up here. So now let's get to the two articles. I kept you in suspense a little bit longer than I should have, but I wanted to at least lay a foundation on why I do reading on nutritional habits and why I try to share with people, here's what the science world is telling us, and here's what the impacts of that can be. So this one's going to come out of the July 11 issue of New Scientist magazine. And they have a study here that says a sugary diet may boost bacteria in your stomach and thus impact your memories. So they go on and say, diets affect your gut bacteria. So we all know what we eat is going into our gut, and there's a bacteria in there. We all have. It's used to process our foods. And the microbes that are in that may influence your brain function. Now why? By changing how genes are expressed in areas important to memory. Now, let's think about that. We eat food, it goes into our stomach. What's really been fascinating over the last several years is the discovery of how our stomachs and our guts are impacting messaging that goes to our brain. So if we step back and think about what we're eating is impacting the chemistry inside of our guts, and there's a telecommunication between our stomach and our brain, if we were beginning to alter that to some detrimental way, would that not have an impact on our mental capacities? This was done at the University of Southern California, and it looked at a group of, actually we're doing with rats at this point, high sugar diets, while a separate group was given normal food. And what they found is over a period of time, the animals that were given the high sugar diet began to forget things or not do things that they hadn't been trained to do, whereas those that had the normal diet did far better in their retention, in their mazes, and their paces. Now, that comes out of July 11th, New Scientist. Let's go to something I got in the mail today. It comes out of the August 2020 issue of the Harvard newsletter. It's a Harvard health letter, August 2020. And this one talks about the importance of taking, now listen to this, having a high intake of berries, apples, and tea lower our dementia risk. Now, I cannot tell you, I've been to any one of my live seminars and even on my Zooms, my bookings, where I have not got a major group of people that are scared to death over dementia. So here it comes out of the Harvard News Briefs in the August 2020 newsletter. Taking berries, apples, and tea are linked to lower dementia. Now, why? Let's go through that. Plants that are loaded with natural occurring chemicals appear to be health. Health. Now, this is now published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, and researchers evaluated the health of 2,800. So this is a fairly substantial study. 2,800 people with an average age of 59. And they underwent physical exams and had lab tests and diet questionnaires. And they did this study over 20 years. So this is a significant study. Pay attention to what they learned. Those that had a high level of flavonoids were 40% less likely to develop dementia, compared with those who had lower intakes of flavonoids. There are many different types of these flavonoids, but the greatest link to lower dementia came from tea. Doesn't say what kind of tea, but tea. I've known that for years. Apples, pears, we keep hearing about berries, blueberries, and strawberries. So berries, we keep hearing more and more. And a high intake was the same as having about 7.5 cups of berries, 8 apples or pears, and 19 cups of tea in a month. So let me go over that. You had an intake of 7.5 cups of berries. You ate 8 apples or pears, not a lot if you think of it over a month, 2 a week, and 19 cups of tea in a month. A low intake was the same as having no berries or tea and less than 2 apples per month. And the study doesn't prove the flavonoid intake protected people, but the researchers said their evidence suggests that the flavonoids may ward off brain inflammation and protect brain cells. So now let's talk about that. One of the things I'm very sensitive of in my annual physicals is getting what they call C-reactive protein blood test, which only one of my doctors recommends it, and I'm thrilled that he does, because what he convinced me of is that testing your C-reactive protein and your inflammation is a crucial measure for him as he looks at my heart health. Now, what have we been talking about on these broadcasts? What's good for your heart is good for your brain, and what's good for your brain is good for your heart. And so here comes this 20-year study talking about flavonoids, and they make the comment about berries, apples, tea, pears, and yet they're not going to be totally, this is it yet, because they're still always hedging and making a fuss about it. But here's my message, and I'll close it up. What we eat has a major impact. What we're putting in here is dissolved and digested, and the parts of it that go up in here. Your body is one holistic system. So what we breathe, what we eat, what we touch, what we hear, what we see, all have an impact on our memories and how we're retaining and encoding things, how we create from it, and what we do with it all. So that is my Monday night, 7 o'clock, live with Tony. I always pray that I can get 1 point across to somebody who's listening, and those 1 points with the infinite capacity we have can generate a whole new way of living that leads to a much better life and a much more healthier body. We'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is Tuesday. We're back in on the 3 o'clock time period. So we're doing 3 o'clock on Tuesday, 7 o'clock on Wednesday, 3 o'clock on Thursday. And keep listening, and I keep sending me those notifications. I'm really enjoying reading the notifications and or emails to adottino@aol.com. Stay safe, please. I'm looking at some numbers, and I just try not to listen to the news too often anymore. The stress of it is just not worth it. I try to catch up once a week, and I just saw numbers today for Florida, which is Windermere, Florida, near Orlando is home. I'm not liking the numbers. Please stay safe. We've just got so much that we want to do, and I'll give you an update probably in the next week or so on the USA Memory Championship.